Elon Musk buys lemonade from a pregnant woman. Her heartbreaking story will leave you speechless. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. In the blistering summer of 2023, Elon Musk, the visionary billionaire, found himself navigating the quiet streets of Austin, Texas. It was a rare moment of solitude for the tech magnate, a break from his relentless pursuit of innovation. As he drove down a suburban road, something unusual caught his eye. A small lemonade stand with a handwritten sign that read, "Lemonade for Hope." What stood out even more was the woman behind the stand. She was visibly pregnant, her face radiant yet lined with exhaustion. Intrigued, Elon pulled over, his heart stirred by the quiet determination in her eyes. This wasn't just a lemonade stand. It was a lifeline. Her name was Sarah, a 29-year-old teacher on leave who seemed reluctant but hopeful as she poured a glass of lemonade for Elon. He noticed her hands trembling slightly and asked gently, "Are you okay?" At first, Sarah hesitated, but her eyes brimmed with tears. Finally, she admitted, "I'm trying to raise money. My husband Ryan is sick. He needs treatment our insurance won't cover." She explained how Ryan had been diagnosed with a rare illness, and their financial struggles had driven her to take drastic measures even with a baby on the way. Elon listened intently, his usual steely demeanor softening as she spoke. Her story reminded him of the sacrifices and struggles people endure for love and family. Before leaving, he quietly placed a thick stack of bills into her donation jar. Sarah wouldn't realize until later that it was $5,000. But for Elon, the encounter lingered in his mind long after he drove away. That evening, Elon Musk couldn't shake Sarah's story from his thoughts. For a man accustomed to solving some of the world's most complex problems, this felt profoundly personal. He called his assistant and instructed them to gather more details about Sarah and her husband Ryan, the illness, the treatment, and what could be done. The following day, just as the sun began to dip below the horizon, Sarah saw a familiar figure walking toward her lemonade stand. It was Elon again, but this time he wasn't alone. Two men in business suits followed behind him, one carrying a leather briefcase and the other a calm, empathetic expression. "Elon, what are you doing here again?" Sarah asked, her voice filled with surprise but also apprehension. "I couldn't stop thinking about what you told me yesterday," Elon said, "and I realized that maybe I was meant to help." He gestured to the men behind him. One stepped forward and introduced himself as Dr. Harris, a specialist in rare and experimental treatments. The other, a legal advisor, handed Sarah a folder. As she opened it, her trembling hands revealed pages of documents explaining that Elon had not only arranged for Ryan's treatment to be covered in full, but had also flown in specialists to ensure he received the best care available. Tears streamed down Sarah's face as she tried to comprehend the enormity of the gesture. "I don't know how to thank you," she stammered. "You don't need to," Elon replied, his voice steady. "You're already doing everything you can for your family. This is just my way of making it a little easier." But Elon's generosity didn't stop there. He had also made arrangements to cover the family's mortgage for a full year. "Your child deserves to grow up in a safe, loving home," he said softly. Sarah tried to refuse, overwhelmed by the scale of his kindness, but Elon was resolute. "I've had my own share of dark days," he said quietly. "If I can make someone else's path brighter, I will." In the weeks that followed, Sarah and Ryan's lives began to transform. Ryan, though still weak, started his treatment under the guidance of Dr. Harris. The path was uncertain, but for the first time in months, there was hope. Elon, despite his packed schedule, stayed involved. He called frequently to check on Ryan's progress and sometimes appeared unannounced with groceries or even a small gift for their unborn baby. One evening, Elon visited Sarah's modest home. She invited him to stay for dinner, and though he hesitated at first, he eventually agreed. Over a simple meal, Sarah shared more about her life with Ryan, their love story, their dreams, and their struggles. Elon listened intently, his usual reserved nature giving way to genuine interest. As they talked, Sarah asked the question that had been on her mind since the day they met. "Why are you doing all this for us?" she asked softly. "You've already done so much." Elon paused, his gaze distant for a moment. "Because I know what it's like to feel helpless," he said. "To see someone you love in pain and not know how to make it better. I've had moments in my life where I felt completely alone. I don't want you to feel that way." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "You've given us more than hope," she said. "You've given us a chance to fight." As the months passed, Ryan showed small but significant signs of improvement. Elon remained a steadfast presence, not out of obligation, but out of genuine care. One afternoon, he surprised Sarah again, this time with something that left her speechless. He had transformed their spare room into a beautiful nursery. The walls were painted in a soothing shade of blue, the crib adorned with soft blankets, and a tiny bookshelf filled with children's books stood in the corner. A small card lay on the dresser, written in Elon's precise handwriting, "For the musketeer-to-be. Your future is brighter than you can imagine." Sarah stood in the doorway, tears streaming down her face. "Why do you keep doing this for us?" she asked. Elon smiled gently. "Because you remind me of what it means to fight for love, and because I believe that someday, when the time is right, you'll pay it forward." As the weeks turned into months, Ryan's strength continued to grow, and the family began to find moments of joy amidst the challenges. One crisp autumn afternoon, Sarah received incredible news. Ryan was stable enough to come home for a short visit before his next round of treatment. Overwhelmed with emotion, she immediately called Elon to share the update. "That's wonderful," Elon said warmly over the phone. "We need to celebrate. Leave it to me." The next day, when Ryan arrived home, he was greeted by an extraordinary sight. Their backyard had been transformed into a magical oasis. Twinkling lights hung from the trees. A table was set with all of Ryan's favorite dishes, and soft music filled the air. Elon had enlisted local chefs and a small live band to create an unforgettable evening. Ryan, still weak but beaming with happiness, looked around in awe. "This is incredible," he said, his voice cracking with emotion. But it wasn't just the celebration that touched him. It was Elon himself. Throughout the evening, Elon treated Ryan not as a charity case but as a close friend. The two men talked for hours, sharing stories of resilience, loss, and the quiet strength it takes to keep going. Ryan learned of Elon's own struggles, the moments of isolation and heartbreak he rarely shared with anyone. "You've faced so much," Ryan said quietly. "Why do you keep giving to others?" Elon leaned back, his gaze thoughtful. "Because I know what it feels like to lose everything," he said. "But I also know what it means when someone steps in to remind you that you're not alone. I'm just paying that forward." As the night went on, laughter and tears mingled under the twinkling lights. Ryan held Sarah close, their unborn child nestled safely between them. For the first time in what felt like forever, they allowed themselves to believe that brighter days lay ahead. Before leaving, Elon placed a hand on Ryan's shoulder. "You've got a long road ahead," he said, his tone steady yet encouraging. "But you're not walking it alone. Whatever you need, I'll be there." Just when it seemed like life was turning a corner for Sarah and Ryan, an unexpected crisis struck. Ryan's condition suddenly worsened, and doctors informed them that an emergency procedure was their only hope. The surgery was risky and incredibly expensive, far beyond what they could afford. Sarah sat by Ryan's hospital bed, holding his hand as tears streamed down her face. "I don't know what we're going to do," she whispered. Ryan, his voice weak but steady, squeezed her hand. "Whatever happens, you and the baby will be okay. That's what matters most." But Sarah couldn't accept that. She wasn't ready to give up on the man who had been her partner, her strength, her everything. In desperation, she picked up her phone and called Elon. Her voice trembled as she explained the situation, her words laced with urgency and despair. "Elon, I don't know what to do. We need help. I don't know where else to turn." His response was immediate and unwavering. "I told you before, you're not doing this alone. I'll be there." Within hours, Elon arrived at the hospital, bringing with him a team of world-class specialists he had personally flown in. His calm demeanor steadied Sarah as she faced the storm of decisions ahead. During the surgery, as Sarah sat in the waiting room racked with anxiety, Elon remained by her side, a quiet but powerful presence. "Do you think he'll make it?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Elon looked at her, his eyes full of quiet determination. "Ryan is a fighter, and so are you. Whatever happens, you'll have each other, and you'll have me." Hours stretched into the early morning as the surgery continued. Finally, the surgeon emerged, his expression carefully neutral. Sarah leaped to her feet, her heart pounding. "Mrs. Carter," he began. "The surgery was complicated, but Ryan made it through. He's stable." Relief flooded through her, and she nearly collapsed from the weight of it all. Elon caught her just in time, steadying her with a reassuring hand. "You did it," he said softly. "You fought for him." But the journey was far from over. As Ryan began his slow recovery, Sarah juggled her own exhaustion, hospital visits, and preparing for the arrival of their baby. Elon remained a constant source of support. One evening, when Sarah returned home after a long day at the hospital, she discovered yet another surprise. Elon had transformed their small living room into a celebration space. A banner that read, "Welcome Home," Baby Carter hung across the wall, and a crib stood proudly in the corner ready for their new arrival. On the dresser, a card in Elon's familiar handwriting read, "For your family's new beginning. Love always wins." Months later, Ryan was strong enough to come home permanently, just in time for the birth of their daughter. They named her Hope, a tribute to the unwavering belief that had carried them through their darkest days. Elon was there at the hospital, standing quietly in the corner as Ryan held his baby girl for the first time, tears streaming down his face. As Sarah looked at Elon, her heart swelled with gratitude. "We couldn't have done this without you," she said. Elon shook his head. "You didn't need me. You just needed someone to remind you how strong you are." Years later, as Ryan's health stabilized and Hope grew into a lively, curious child, Elon remained a part of their lives. Not as a billionaire or a public figure, but as family. His actions had not only saved their lives, but had shown them the power of compassion, love, and the bonds that hold us together in the most extraordinary ways. And so, what began as a chance encounter at a lemonade stand became a story of resilience, redemption, and the profound impact of one man's kindness. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring content. Share this video with someone who needs a little hope today. See you in the next one.